Are you doing what I'm doing right now, watching KU, OSU, but not really?
No, I was watching, you know, K-State, Jerome and I. We didn't have a lot of money at Baylor, so I honestly don't know how people did things, but so we were roommates for 14 years.
Oh, wow.
So like as I realized when Grant McCaslin left to go to North Texas, I thought that my dog just walked in, so that's why my door just opened. Uh uh I thought he negotiated that he got his own room. And so my last year there was a first year. And so I just thought assistant coaches, you always shared hotel rooms.
Hey,
And long
I gotta do
story
this.
short, Jerome was my roommate.
Okay. I'm gonna, you know what? Patrick Prince will edit this video, and I'm gonna have him just start from the beginning. But I do have to throw this in to make it official that the Bill Haisten podcast can be downloaded for free on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, it can be heard on TulsaRoll.com, on any platform that has a good podcast. Paul, you can hear this podcast. That's for real. And
I'm on it.
but today, because I think Paul is like me in that we're both wired for late nights. I have no problem with functioning late at night. And it is 10 o'clock on Tuesday night. And but I'm with Oral Roberts coach Paul Mills, who I have a vivid memory of your introductory news conference 6 years ago. That the punchline is that it's been 6 years ago, right? 6 years ago. It's unbelievable. But your command of scripture and rap lyrics was unbelievable. Unbelievable. I was sitting with Kelly Hines and we just like elbowing each other. It was so strong. So Paul Mills is one of the hottest coaches in the country. His program is one of the hottest mid majors in the country. I shouldn't even qualify it. One of the hottest programs in the country. And Oral Roberts has two more home games on the regular season schedule. Thursday against North Dakota, Saturday against North Dakota State. 7 o'clock tip, both games. It's been a magical season. You guys are undefeated in conference play. You have the second longest win streak in the country. And these are great times for Paul Mills and the ORU Golden Eagles.
Well, first, Bill, one, thanks for having me on. Two, when you grow up where I grew up, one, my father was a pastor, Mark Few, and I tease each other because we may be the only two college coaches whose dads were pastors. So if you have a dad who's a pastor, you're going to learn a little bit about the Bible. And when I grow up, rap was strong. I mean, rap was coming on the scene, and it was it was kind of what we did. That was what you memorized was rap lyrics. And my dad would make me memorize a Bible verse or two, and to make sure I was walking the straight and narrow. But those two are kind of indwelled in my head, and I still listen to quite a bit of rap today. It's different than the rap that I listened to back in the 1980s. But
who did you listen to in the 80s?
Well, NWA was really, really popular. They recently made a movie about it about 5 or 6 years ago. And so you knew that one, but I would just tell you, Cool Mo D, LL Cool J, Biz Markie, a lot of what the Grammys just celebrated when they got up and did 50 years of rap history. I was sitting there, my daughter was going, how do you know everybody?
Right.
And this is what you grew up on. And then there were a number of people in the city of Houston who were Houston favorites that everybody could always recite the lyrics to. So
like
good times.
Bushwick Bill, was he one?
Bushwick Bill and the Ghetto Boys. I am impressed that you even know that.
You're not dealing with a rookie here now.
That is so impressive.
Before we slide it into hardcore basketball here, I got to tell you, there used to be an annual event here called Tulsa Charity Fight Night, and it was a boxing event. And so Ali came in here, and Joe Frazier came in here, and all these dignitaries from the fight game. But one year, and they would throw a curveball now and then and bring in an entertainment type person, right? And one year they brought in Flavor Flav, and I went with the limo driver to pick him up at the airport, and not knowing really what to expect. He was amazing.
Oh my.
Sweet to everybody at the baggage claim, because everybody wanted a picture, of course.
Yeah.
And interestingly enough, now that you're here with me, on that same flight connection from Dallas back to Tulsa was a group of, I don't know what sport it was, but they were female Oral Roberts athletes. Okay. And they were on that flight with Flavor Flav, and they mobbed him for pictures once they all got their feet on the ground and got to baggage claim. And he could
That's
not
awesome.
More sweet to everybody. So when Flavor Flav and Chuck D jumped out there Sunday night.
Yeah.
Strong now.
Yeah.
That was a Grammy moment in a long time, I thought.
I don't watch the Grammys. I have a 15-year-old daughter, so it was more monitoring. And then when that came on, you were like, man, I know Public Enemy and the whole litany of people that were going through there.
Right.
So she didn't know who anybody was, but it was fun for me.
So you had this amazing run 2 years ago up at Indy, and I remember riding. You beat Ohio State. In that order: Ohio State and Florida. You beat a 2 and a 7 to advance to the Sweet 16 against Arkansas. And I remember riding that week. Let's hope Oral Roberts can capitalize on this momentum. And lo and behold, you get a signature donation. You're this close to finishing the Mike Carter Center, which is going to be an unbelievable practice facility. And now here you are. You know what? All the prep I did for this, and I forgot to look at your net ranking today. Where are you? 37,
38.
Do we know absolutely that's the highest Oral Roberts has ever been? I mean, that particular metric is only like 6 years old, but it's got to be right.
Yeah, we were 36 2 days ago, but we've since dropped a couple. But yeah, I mean, 36 is the highest that we've ever been, given that the net is only about 4 years old. So definitely the highest. I will tell you that, going to Indianapolis, I have a very, just like you, vivid memory. I can remember places where I was standing and what I was doing and when I said it. But I can tell you the exact spot where I was standing when I was talking to you on the phone. And I just said, man, I hope we can tie the record here at ORU for NCAA tournament wins. I kicked myself in the rear for putting that kind of ceiling on us. I should have just said, why limit it to 2, right? I wish I would have thought through that answer a little bit better. But, Indianapolis obviously was a fun experience. It was a fun experience for your guys. We still have 5 players on this team who had that experience. 3 of them are starting. And then DJ Weaver's among who's going to be in the running for 6th man of the year in our conference. So he's the one who hit the big shot against Florida to put us up. So we have 4 guys who were major contributors to that team. Three of them starting now started then. And so it's like going to a nice restaurant 2 years ago and then trying to feed yourself McDonald's. You're like, can we go back to the nice restaurant? So I think your players have a really good memory about that experience. They're hungry to experience it again. And so to have that level of experience who's done it, they're motivated. And, I don't really have to do a whole lot. I have a lot of senior leaders. I have guys who've been through the fire, the good and the bad. And so they understand the urgency at which you have to approach practice, at which you have to approach games. As I told them yesterday, the championship game isn't going to be played today. And so we have to develop the things, the habits, the execution, the discipline that's necessary in order to be good today. Because when that championship game does come, obviously we need to be prepared. But I do have a group that all they're thinking about is how do we win Thursday night.
It's so impressive. You do have what in my mind anyway is a more complete team than you had 2 years ago, with a more potent bench But to have Max, of course, is second in the country in scoring. You are second, I think, in scoring margin as a team. I mean, I could go on and on. Connor Vanover, second in the country, 86 block shots. You know, the next highest total in the Summit League is 44. It's almost lapped the field in the Summit League with block shots. Isaac McBride's a really, really good second scorer. And Kareem Thompson is one of those Jay Billis glue guys, you know, who I was surprised to see today. He's in the top 10 in the league in assists. You've got three of those guys. Max, McBride, and Kareem Thompson are all in the top 10 of the Summit League in assists. So, but it feels like maybe the X factor, and you've got a better bench. I mean, with all due respect, you do. But it feels to me like Vanover is kind of maybe an X factor you didn't have, because he protects. Although Kevin O'Banner was, you know, obviously a great player, but I mean, Connor Vanover 7'5". I saw a picture of you and him together a few days ago. And
that was a bad move. I was on the stage
next to him.
I was on the stage with Beckham, the young man that we signed here out of Oklahoma, and who has a congenital heart issue. And Beckham's 5, and he's a trooper. Has had 5 heart surgeries at the age of 5. But I get off the stage to let some of the players on. And I go stand next to Connor. Probably not the best optic in the world. You know, if you're under 6 foot standing next to that guy. But I do agree that, I mean, I think we have better depth. I mean, you're talking about the 8th guy right now on our roster of the 8 that we play is Trey Phipps. And Trey Phipps is really good. And so we have way more depth than what we did 2 years ago. We are the second leading team in the country in scoring. I think Gonzaga is 85.4. We're 85.2 a game. And we're actually the number 1 team in the country in offensive efficiency. And so offensively, we're as good as it gets in the country. What Connor Vanover allows that we didn't have in previous years is a rim protector. And I can recall after a game last year where, you know, the Summit League has been for the last 11 years number 1 in 3-point field goal percentage. So you have to get out on shooters, because if you let teams shoot in this league, you're going to be in for it. So I can recall a game where a young man, Luke Apple, who's at South Dakota State, averaged 12, and he went for 41 on us. And that's because we were so pushed out on shooters. We were going to go one-on-one at the post. And we were trying to change it during the game and throw different guys at him and different schemes. But that match was lit, and it was hard to put out. And I remember the next day at film, I'm irate. And I'm bouncing off the walls, and I'm letting the guys really raw know what I think. And I tell them, we are going to bring in a 7-footer who can guard people like this. Like, if you don't get committed to it, and in the back of my mind, I'm hoping it's a motivational tactic. But reality is in staff meetings. And so to get somebody of Connor's caliber is great. He played with Isaac McBride in high school. So Isaac knew him. He's being recruited by a number of schools. So the fact that he could shoot the ball like he can, and to allow Max to be kind of a dual threat, like, what do y'all want to do? Do you want to stop Max on his penetration? If you do, we have a 5-man who can make you pay. And you know, if you want to switch it, now we can roll a 5-man into the post who can make shots around the rim. But his value for us has been defensively, and it's why we're tops in our league defensively. And he's got a lot to do, obviously, with what we do offensively.
He's made 38 3-point baskets this year.
He would be the first one to tell you that he's disappointed at only shooting 35%. And I don't want to get too nerdy on you with numbers, but, you know, 35% is a 1.05 points per possession, which is really good. Okay. Anytime you can get over a 1. And so if you shoot 50% from 2, right? 50 times 2, that's a 1 point per possession. And so he's better. He can do things from behind the 3-point line that are over a 1, and that makes you pretty good offensively. But I do think as you see him, he'll be better down the stretch.
But
I
he's
just think familiarity and all of those things will breed confidence. And
right.
he's a gamer. I'm just telling you, that kid is a gamer.
But he's also a young man who wants to play 12 years of pro basketball, and he wants to shoot 39%. And I don't blame him.
Yeah. Yeah. My challenge to him when we recruited him was, can you be a 180 guy? Right. The NBA's had 9 of them. Can you 50% from 2, 40% from 3, 90% from the free throw line? And he shot 92%. So I knew the free throws were not going to be a problem. We knew he could shoot better than 50% from 2-point range. And we've been creeping around between this 35 and 40% mark. But I do think that he's one of those guys who can be a 180 guy. I mean, if you look at in the NBA context, I mean, you're talking about Larry Bird, Reggie Miller. I mean,
Right.
elite level guys. Oklahoma people will be familiar. Buddy Hield was an 80%, was a 180 guy during his time at Oklahoma. They're just really rare at whatever level of basketball, but he has that capability.
Right. So if I had 2 years ago, after you missed by 1 inch from going to the Elite Eight, a few days after that, Max goes to the NBA Combine. If I had told you then, 2 years from now, if I'd said 2 years from now we're going to be back together talking about ORU basketball, at that time, were you really worried that he might go ahead and leave school, or was it just a kind of a 50-50 deal on how he performed in Chicago? How were you feeling coming off of the high of the tournament and then Max goes to the Combine?
Yeah, I mean, this is 100%. I'm sincere when I say this. I want these guys to go to the NBA. You hate losing good players. We don't get these guys for 18 years like Tim Duncan. We don't get to hold on to them forever. The better the chance he goes to the NBA, the better we can get a player of that caliber to come in. People want to know, can I get to the NBA from ORU? And right now, that year, we finished 27th in the final voting. We're looking at 33 right now in the AP top 25 poll. We're 8 below as we get votes. So people want to know, can you, at a school like ORU, can you be nationally ranked? And what Max has proven is you can get national attention. He's a Naismith finalist, right, among the final 30 players to be recognized as College Basketball Player of the Year. He's got more accolades than you and I have time to run through. So you can get national attention here. You can advance in the NCAA tournament here. Can you consistently be a top 25 team here? And I think that, recruits, families, they have those questions. You obviously believe you can. I've told every recruit here, I mean, since I've been here, we've watched other teams go to the Final Four. I mean, we've watched VCU do it. We've watched Wichita State, schools without football. Obviously, Gonzaga, Butler, people are very familiar with those stories. But yeah, everybody remembers Loyola Chicago from 4 years ago. And so the reality is it can be true for your experience. Now, I'm just telling you, you've got to be a good enough player, and we're going to help you become better. But you have to be driven as a player. I want Max Haisten to be driven as a player. And I've told him this, but I honestly believe, and this is going to sound crazy, but I believe he's going to have as good, if not better, a career as Isaiah Thomas, who came out of Washington and was the 60th pick in the NBA draft. And I believe he was a 2-time All-Star. And Max has that ability to shoot. He's got that speed, and his nuances to the game when he gets to the NBA. If you look at it athletically, I mean, at the NBA Combine, he's among the best in a number of different categories. He's the fastest at the NBA there at the NBA Combine, and that's elite of the elite now.
Right.
And so he's got all of it. It's just for him, it'll take a little bit of time. And I think he's going to be a heck of an NBA player, but we enjoy him now. And the great thing about him is he's been patient, he's been committed, and I'm just unaware of too many players I've been around who've been patient and committed that it didn't work for. I've been around players that have been committed, but they couldn't stay patient.
Well,
And I've been around players that have been patient, but their commitment wavered. And he's been both, and he's going to see the dividends of it.
but the individual, the numbers, the awards, or the recognition, plus what your team has done with Max in the program. I mean, he's a Mount Rushmore guy to me at that program.
He's really good. I go back to an article you wrote 2 years ago. I mean, Cade Cunningham was the #1 player in the draft, and you said, "Listen, I think I'd take him second out of everybody." And you know what? That was when he was 19 years old. So now that he's 21, fortunately for us, he's gotten better. And I'm just telling you, a huge shout out to Troy and Erica, his mom and his dad. They are just fabulous people. They keep him very grounded. He shows up every day wanting to compete. And I mean, a lot of freshmen I have issues with because they don't go hard enough. They just don't understand. He's understood from day one, and he finished behind some guy named Anthony Edwards, who ended up being the first pick in the NBA draft in 3-point field goals made as a freshman. And you just knew, like, okay, if we can get, he was off the ball for us his freshman year. Like, we've got to get him better on the ball. And you know what? He embraced every bit of it, the work, the time, all that was necessary. And he's turned himself into a heck of a player. And more importantly, he's turned himself into a guard whose game will translate to the next level.
Right. I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, so I'm not going to like recite the names of the guys I would not have on the Mount Rushmore, but Max is one of the 4 all-timers at that school. There's no question.
It's fun to watch him. So Saturday night will be a little bittersweet for all of us in the Mabee Center. But moving forward, I think that the world will get hopefully another chance to see Max Stacemus on the big stage.
Did you you saw the outpouring of love for LeBron last week? Something else you and I have in common is our appreciation of Michael Jordan. So you saw the outpouring of affection for LeBron when he became the scoring champion. And I stood up and gave him a little golf applause and sat right back down. I mean, it doesn't change my mind one bit about Michael Jordan.
It's what I saw LeBron when he was a sophomore in high school, right after he had appeared on the cover of Sports Illustrated, and was blown away with his talent. But I will tell you, everybody walked out of there. I can remember being with some coaches, Ben Howland specifically, the longtime UCLA and recently at Mississippi State. And he said, "Paul, have you ever seen passing ability like that?" And I said, "Not out of a 16-year-old." Right. So for LeBron to have the longevity that he's had to score the way that he's scored,
that is true.
I don't even know that that's his best skill. His best skill is his ability to see the floor.
Yeah. Well, where did you see him as a sophomore? Were you in Vegas at a turn at a summer?
No, I was in Houston. They came and get this. The high school team that he played on, they had Kendrick Perkins, who's an ESPN analyst now, right? I think they were the same age. And then the other team had Josh Smith and Dwight Howard. They were playing the Atlanta Celtics. And they were younger, obviously. I think they were freshmen at the time. But all of those guys were around the same age. And the only guy who's still in the NBA is LeBron. and Dwight's on some Navy SEAL show or something on TV. And LeBron's still going strong.
Yeah. Now that I don't ever I never question or argue with anybody who wants to say that LeBron's the best. I mean, I'm not going to argue it because I mean, it's just you could just play ping pong with that all
Yeah,
night.
yeah, absolutely.
But if you bundle everything Jordan did, Paul, it's just the all defensive. What was he? 8 or 10 time all defensive first team guy. He was MVP of every finals. He was a league MVP. Yeah, he averaged 38 a game one season.
Yeah, his second year, I mean, yeah, just I mean, I think it's great for guys like you and me because we saw Larry Bird, we saw Magic Johnson, we saw Michael, we've seen LeBron, we've seen all these guys in their prime. Usually, the guys you get into arguments with over LeBron, they're usually under the age of 30. But we kind of, man, we were able to watch it where, I mean, everybody remembers it was the Celtics and the Lakers there with Magic and Kareem and Bird and McHale. And
Right.
then all of a sudden Detroit comes on the scene. And then, Chicago then comes on. And 3 years, and then you have the Akeem Olajuwon Houston Rockets. They win two when Jordan leaves the league. Jordan comes back, he wins three more. I think Jordan could have ran off eight in a row had
No
had
question.
it not been for his father's death and all that's involved. But I mean, we had the chance to see David Robinson and Tim Duncan and Akeem Olajuwon, and I mean, Mark Aguirre is no bum. But when we were in the Mark Aguirre and obviously the Larry Bird, Magic Johnson, and then to watch it into this, I just think you and I have been blessed just to see a level of basketball that's pretty elite. And the
Yeah.
good thing is that these athletes get better and better and better. They're going to keep doing it. And I think that's what was different than Jordan and what was different than Oscar Robertson and what was different than Wilt is they were just so far up ahead of who their competition was. And athletes are going to get bigger and they're going to get stronger and science is going to improve and they're going to get faster and leap higher and all those things. But when you make it comparable to the same people that they were going against who had the same resources and to watch how far they are ahead, that's what says a lot about the Oscars and the Wilts and the Michaels in my mind.
Well, I do not want to get into this except to say that guys and organizations being satisfied with playing 62 games instead of trying to play 82, I will never be okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not unless you're going to say, well, okay, we're going to load manage whatever all-star on this game, so we're going to cut these tickets back 35%. They're not doing it. And I feel sick for people who get Thunder tickets for Christmas and they say, oh, I get to see so-and-so come in to Oklahoma City. And then that so-and-so, like Luka, Dallas played there recently. And I told a couple of guys, ain't no way Luka's going to play this. No way. And he didn't. That really bugs me, that part of the NBA.
Well, as somebody who grew up poor and didn't have much and who camped out at 4 a.m. to see Michael at 2 o'clock in the afternoon and was the first person in line. My dad saved up money and I can't imagine just a Michael Jordan fan like me and my dad breaking his back in order to get us, section 200 tickets at the Houston Rockets Summit, where they played at the Summit to watch Michael Jordan. I can't imagine him saying, it's a load management game for me. 12-year-old Paul Mills would have been crushed.
When you were in line to see MJ, was it a shoe event? Is that what it was?
No, it was. I mean, we saw it in the Houston Chronicle. Michael Jordan's coming and I think it was probably a promotional item. But what happened was, hey, stand outside. My mom sat in the parking lot. I was first person in line at Westbrook Mall. And 4 a.m. now, not the safest in the world, did it anyway. And they let us in at 9, about 2 o'clock. Here comes Mike, and it was chaos. I mean, whatever line was wrapped around the building, that line went to shreds. And he walked out, and it was as if, Michael Jackson had walked out,
Right.
or Elvis Presley or whoever. And it's chaos and it takes them 5 minutes. Well, by the time they reassemble the line, I'm like halfway in the back. And the security guard who had been there the whole time searches me out and finds me. And
Wow,
he
what a
brings
guy.
me to the front of the line.
That's
And
pretty
so I
cool.
get to see Michael first. And
Right.
he said, he said, "Hey, you come with me. I know you were here first." So the only face that he remembered was, in my mind, was me. And Michael said, "You've been waiting here all night." Just, yes, sir. That was about all I could muster. And he signed a poster and something else, and it was
This
Brett,
was probably
I
this is
remind our guys all the time. You just never know how much that stuff means. Like, give these kids high five when they're hanging over the rafters. They'll
Mhm.
remember it, and you may not think much of it. You may be disappointed at the moment, but I'm just telling you, this stuff and how you treat people is going to go a lot further than you realize.
It's so funny you say that because after the most recent game I attended, which was a couple of Saturdays ago, as Kareem Thompson was leaving the gym, there was a family there with maybe 4 kids, ranging in age from 2 to 6, and a couple of families there together. And he spent time with those kids, and everybody got a high five, and everybody got a little bit of attention. And then I think Kareem posed for a picture with him, and then your mascot, he bulls in there and gets his. Yeah. So
Yeah,
you're
we,
right.
we do remind our guys, and obviously you want them to get the attention. We had a situation this past weekend during halftime where a dad brought his 2 boys out while we were coming back on the court to warm up to take pictures with Connor. It's like, there are times, guys, when you have to say no,
Right.
but and I'm not telling you have to say yes. Sometimes, right? You may not see it. You may but listen, go out of your way every chance you get to make people feel special, and do it with a smile on your face. It's not a burden. You're really not that important. I'm not that important, and let's just take the extra mile, just because putting a smile on somebody's face, you just never know how far that stuff will go.
All right. No. All right. Last question. When you take your squad to Sioux Falls in a few days for the tournament, and you and I talked at length about Sioux Falls and the nature of this is my word. You didn't exactly use this word, but the really unfair nature of the Summit League tournament in that it's locked up in South Dakota, and
Yeah,
it's a decided advantage for the Dakota schools. Um,
yeah.
so, but when you do take your team to South Dakota, uh, are you going to be how peacefully will you sleep that week? Because you don't want to you want first of all, I don't know how you feel about the possibility you could get an at-large if you come up a bucket short in the championship game at Sioux Falls. I should ask that. I'm kind of burying that. I mean, how do you feel about the possibility that you could actually get an at-large if you stumble at the finish line of the Summit League tournament?
Yeah, I feel okay about it. I mean, nobody's ever going to feel great. I mean, I've been on that side to where it's like you cannot sleep, because for basketball coaches, NCAA selection Sunday is like Christmas. And you can either spend Christmas at home with your family and be happy about it, or you can be separated from it. I'd like to spend selection Sunday with my guys and my team, and I don't want to be separated from them, because I know separation you're not getting an invite.
Right.
So I've been on that side of it. Last year, the cutoff was 36. Texas A&M was 36. Xavier was 37. Both of those played in the NIT final. So, I mean, you're at 38. You were at 36 the other day. We need to climb higher. We probably need to be in low 30s. If you lose a quad 3 game, the college basketball is broke up into quadrants, and it's not as simple as top 25% quad 1 and so forth. But I think we have to see how these last 2 weeks play out. Have to see where the numbers are. I do talk to Joe Lenardi quite a bit, just because I want the best information possible, and I also want to do the things possible. The
Right.
one thing I will say is I don't want to be penalized because we're poor. I don't want to. I don't think people should be penalized because they're poor. Just because we don't get the same number of quad one opportunities because we don't have the resources, we shouldn't be penalized for that. And somebody shouldn't be rewarded because they're rich. There's only 9 schools in the country right now who haven't lost a quad 2, quad 3, quad 4 game. And if you go look at them, the other 8, whether they be Purdue, Baylor, Kansas, whoever, they're all projected in the field. So we're one of 9 who haven't stumbled against the quad 2, quad 3, quad 4. And but we should not be penalized because our conference isn't a mega conference. Our team should be evaluated based on who our team is, and we shouldn't be penalized because we're not amongst a Power 5 conference and we didn't get a play because we just don't get the same number of opportunities. So we played the 4th toughest non-conference schedule in the country, and it wasn't as if we were ducking and hiding, trying to avoid, let's just try to go get 20 wins, because I know coaches who do that. You can schedule 20 wins. That's not that hard.
Right.
And we didn't do that. And we've been fortunate to be on the right side of games, but we played all 4 of our quad ones on a road. I sure would like to play some of them in neutral games because we've seen how we've been able to do things on a neutral floor, whether it be Ohio State, Florida, or Arkansas in 2021.
Well, you got really not just this season, but you've had great momentum with your attendance, home game attendance. Your student sections have been unbelievable. You got a quad student section, that's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's unbelievable. It's a difference maker. It really is.
No doubt. No doubt.
And so, like you said, Max's final couple of home games. So maybe Center should be popping this weekend, Thursday and Saturday.
I'm told Thursday night the lower bowl is already sold out, and a good portion of the upper bowl is already filled. And I think Saturday night it'll be packed as well.
Oh yeah, it'll be hot. And then, but I'll wrap it up with this: if I ask you if you'll sleep peacefully the week of the conference tournament, because you don't want a special season to end earlier than it has to end, and you want that experience again. But I would sleep a lot more peacefully having the best team in the league than I would if I had the 3rd or 4th. And you have the best team in the league. There's no doubt.
And you know what? You want to walk in with a fully loaded arsenal. And we're fully loaded. We're healthy. We've got everything we need. You talking about sleep. I mean, I woke up at 4:15 this morning. Scott Drew had texted me at 2 a.m. I texted him back at 4:15 because I fell asleep last night at like midnight. But I was up at 4:15 this morning because I'm sweating Thursday. It's just, hey, how do you get by Thursday? And I took a 1 o'clock to 1:45 nap. So my sleep schedule this time of year, I don't really care about it. But I do think your mind is just racing. You're constantly in front of a video screen. Like, man, how do I give my guys the best chance possible? I think we have great players. They've been in this environment before. They understand it. They're motivated. I tell our guys often, it's a coach's job to love their players, and it's a player's job to love each other. But even though coaches love their players, they don't always like them. I like my guys. I enjoy being around them. And we want to stretch this out as long as possible. And I do think we have a special crew. And I'm telling you, we will just take this. I know this is very cliche, but we won't look past the championship game isn't until March the 7th. And so we can't win the March 7th game today. So let's just focus on today. And I think if we can make sure our focus is right, we can prevent distractions, that we'll be hopefully in a really good situation as we enter into March and NCAA.
I've never seen you wear a pair of glasses Do you not wear corrective lenses?
No, not for now I've gotten to a point age-wise to where the magnifying reading glasses really help me. And so when I start staring at a screen for a while, or reading stuff, that stuff does help.
You're a lucky man. All right. Well, I will see you at the Maybe Center this weekend, Paul. I owe you. Thank you.
Well, Bill, thanks for the time. Thanks for your support of Max. You were way ahead of the game on that
Well,
one.
I do remember what you alluded to. You said, I think what I wrote was if there was a pickup game involving all the college players in Oklahoma,
Yeah,
I could see where Cade would be the first guy taken.
yeah,
But the second guy for me would be Max. No
yeah.
doubt. I think I wrote
And-
that maybe before the NCAA tournament. I don't know.
You wrote it after we played Oklahoma State. He went for 38-7.
There you go.
So
there you go.
so it was like our third game of the year. And he I mean, it was during a COVID year, but for him to continue, last year he was hurt. I don't think people really understand that he probably only played at 75-80%. So to see Max back to being Max, and just knowing that his trajectory is going to be so high, he's good enough to help us.
All right, go get you a nap, and
That's what it'll be.
Green, and I'll see you Thursday night.
Bill, thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Paul.